I think I find myself also at a very, very perplexing juncture of my life as a woman in Hindi cinema, because once you get past the age of 33, 34, I'm 36 now,
Right.
And I may not look 36, or that's what I'm told a lot, which is flattering at one level, but the other level it also makes you question why this obsession with being younger. Everybody is obsessed with working with younger leading ladies, especially the men. And there's also an obsession for fresh casting, right? Because everybody wants their cinema to have that fresh appeal. While I think experience can also be very refreshing, right? And I think this cast of the film reflects that in so many ways than one. And the second is that I'm married now.
Yes.
So there is also this strange dichotomy of a certain aspect of the industry that believes that because you're married, you're unavailable to the audience, and therefore you don't merit certain parts.
What is it that Sahil and you, sort of have in common, and how do you sort of navigate the choppy waters when you're in showbiz? Because relationships in show business are a little different. I mean, in terms of what you have to encounter.
You're basically asking me when leading ladies hit on my husband, what do I do?
Yes.
That's exactly what I'm asking you. Or when leading men hit on you, what does he do?
Yeah. What's interesting is that he's a very confident man. So even all of the male attention that I get, that I got before we were married, and I continue to get, thank God, because I really enjoy it. I really don't know what I would do if I didn't get the attention and love that I do. He's always been extremely matter of fact and comfortable with it. It's never, in fact, he enjoys it. He revels in the attention and the love that I get, and that's wonderful, because I've dated some fiercely protective and insecure men, and it can be very exhausting. And thankfully Sahil is not that person.
Right.
I feel a tad bit jealous.
You do?
I do. I don't let it get into an immature and impractical, stupid space.
Sure.
But yeah, I do let him know that, don't you think you guys are flirting a bit much?
Relationships in Bollywood that you admire, like couples that you really sort of look up to. Anyone in particular?
I love the relationship Javed Saab and Shabana have.
Yes.
It's fascinating.
When you were young, your parents got separated when you were I think a child?
5.5.
5.5. How did that affect your worldview, if at all?
I think for the longest time it just made me desire and want normalcy. I grew up wanting a normal life like every other kid. I couldn't understand why I had to have two sets of parents, and then of course that quickly disappeared because I lost my father, my biological father, when I was 9, and I didn't really have a relationship with my stepmother because she didn't want it. And then of course my stepfather, who really hadn't taken an active role in my life because my father didn't want that while he was alive. When my dad passed away, then Abba, my stepfather, stepped in and became a more proactive part of my life, and I think that's when I started feeling a sense of normalcy, so to say. But I was deeply attached to my father. It really, for the longest time, I couldn't accept that he was no more. And then by the time I was 17 and a half, I'd moved out of home. I'd moved to Mumbai. I was working, so I'd flown the nest. And I was building my career in my home in Mumbai, and literally 3 years later my stepfather passed away. So it was how do I say it? I just don't think I've ever had what you would call a completely normal, functional personal life until about 12-13 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was some incident about a pair of shoes. What was that?
Oh, Jesus Christ. So basically, I was growing up in Hyderabad. we were very comfortable. My stepfather had this ancestral home which was large, spacious. We had a front yard, a courtyard, a backyard. So visually, I mean, like, we saw the home, you would think these people must be really rich. But the fact is that he struggled financially, and we of course never had a problem for food and clothes, but we never went on foreign vacations. There was not, we led a pretty simple life. And वो दशहरा दिवाली के लिए 10 कपड़े बनते थे. Those 10 dresses would get made, and that's what I would use other than hand-me-downs through the rest of the year. So anyway, I hit puberty, that very frightening age for all mothers. And I had made friends who came from, you know, well-to-do families, and they were buying stuff, and they were buying expensive stuff. And suddenly I discovered that I didn't have these, you know, good-looking things that were expensive. So one day I asked my mother whether I could buy a pair of boots that at the time were priced at 5,000 rupees, and my mother freaked out. She was like, "You've got to be kidding me. There's no way I'm buying you those shoes. Firstly, they're too expensive, and secondly, if you want such expensive things, you make your own money and you buy your own shoes." And in a fit of rage, I was so offended by what she said, because I was very conscious of the financial constraints at home, because I would save a pencil till it was this small before I kind of asked for a new one. So I was very offended. So I was like, "You don't think I can make my own money? I will prove you wrong." And I said, by the time I'm 18, I will have started earning my own money. By the time I'm 18, I will buy my own car. By the time I'm 21, I'll have my own house. And it actually panned out exactly that way.
So you were prophetic.
Yeah, I was kind of in that moment. I prophesized. Yeah, I just let the universe know that this is how it's going to be. But it's really funny and ironical, right? Because so much of that idea of progress was built on the idea to achieve financial independence, and I think that was really what drove me out of the house and drove me into the world and helped me to define my identity. And it's not about consumerism, so it's really not about the shoes.
You wanted to become a lawyer, and then you sort of...
I wanted to be a human rights lawyer.
Human rights.
My goal was to work as a lawyer for the United Nations. And it was like this incredible circle when I got a call from the UN asking me to become their ambassador.
Absolutely.
I was like, wow. I didn't make it to law school because I chose a different career path, but I was like, this is just fantastic that I can actually still work at a global platform and do more. It was wonderful.
You're a Hyderabad girl, and then you made Mumbai your home. Between the two cities, which is the one that scores higher with you?
I would say Mumbai, because this is where I've built my home, I've built my life. It's also the place that gave me everything I have. Hyderabad for me will always be special because I was born there and I grew up there, but so much of my life and the time that I spent in Hyderabad was so difficult. My parents' separation, just me finding my own balance, losing my father, it was just horrible. And if you ask me whether I'd be able to go back and live there, I'd say possibly not, because it just doesn't feel the same. Not without my fathers, both of them.
From beauty queen to actress to producer and obviously activist, what's the journey been like? Which is a phase that you've really cherished?
Beauty queen was like a paradigm shift from an absolutely normal, rooted, grounded, humble life to suddenly having access to so much. Especially our year, it was tremendous. We all three of us, Lara, Priyanka and I, became household names. The fact that we went on to win our international titles really turned the tide for us. We were the center of attention wherever we went. There was just so much media attention, there was so much love, there was so much indulgence, and it was baffling and terrifying and exciting. And then very quickly I kind of progressed into cinema. Actually, I was the first one to start doing films, and in the first year of my joining films, I had 3 releases, which means I was working on 4 films back to back.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of work very quickly. So I didn't get a chance to even like kind of decipher what was going on with me or understand. So for me, if I actually think about my film, the way that started, it took me about 3-4 years to really kind of settle in and take a breath and say, oh, okay, this is why I'm here, and this is what is happening, and this is how it's done. So, and you start seeing that then in my choices post 2003-4, especially after I lost my dad. It was just then, because the responsibility shifted. I suddenly was on my own.
Right.
I had to care for my mother. There was a home to run. I was doing it before as well.
Right.
But I think for a girl, I don't know whether it's true for boys, maybe it is. But when a father's always some form of a safety net. You always at the back of your mind know that dad, Abba, whoever it is there, right? So that kind of grounded me, and it shifted my perspective around a lot. And I started making choices then. So that's why within like 4 years you saw me turn producer.
Yes.
The most exciting phase for me has been the last 7 years. From turning producer to really staking claim of the sphere of activism that I understand so much better now, and really being able to do constructive, productive, meaningful work in that sphere, and using my voice then to also integrate that into communication. Being able to do Ganga, the Soul of India, and now being able to produce stuff. We've actually produced a wild anthem for India, which I'm really excited about. We're releasing it on the 15th of August. So there is like this wonderful phase that I find myself in, which has transcended all the knots, and I am comfortable, and I know, and there's a sense of awareness and a clarity of direction.
Yes.
I don't think I had that clarity of direction before.
Basically putting the spotlight on this whole issue of mental health, and I remember you were one of the early people to talk about it, like celebrities I'm saying, you wrote about it at length, and you were very candid about it. What is it that you sort of felt at that time? What made you speak out about it way back then, when it was not considered like something so easy, or I wouldn't say cool would be the wrong thing to say, but
You're talking about the article I wrote.
That's right.
Don't go gently into the night.
People are not so open about it. Let's just put it that way.
Well, I was writing. I was doing a fortnightly column, and there were every year the number of children's suicides that were being reported was increasing. The pressure of examination, the pressure of failure, and I also had started to understand what pressure within my work sphere was doing to me emotionally, and I also had this tumultuous childhood and experienced my share of ups and downs, and how that had impacted me, which is why I spoke about how I tried to harm myself when I was younger. And I know so many young girls and young people who do that.
Absolutely.
And I think it was very important to emphasize 2 things. One was to help more people understand that it's okay to reach out and ask for help. And 2, it's also important to understand that most 90% of the people who try to attempt suicide are doing so not because they want to kill themselves, but because they are asking for help.
Right.
I was reading an article recently which was about this subject, and which was interesting because it said, it was about America actually, and it said that there is a particular life that we are leading, which is leading to this disenchantment with life, because there are no relationships really to speak of, and we're too dependent on material things for our happiness.
It's a consumerist life, right? It's a combination of advertising. Look around you. Everywhere you look, somebody or something is asking you to buy something.
Right.
And then if you don't have it or you can't do it, you feel underaccomplished or and a sense of underachievement. And then of course you have technology where everything is making everything look perfect. And then you're kind of equating that with your own life and you're saying, oh God, my life is not as perfect, my face is not as perfect, my relationship is not as perfect. But that's far from the truth, because everybody is applying lenses and filters to what they're projecting in the world, and there's so little of the truth and reality, which is why, Priyanka, we have been working so hard to make children interact with nature more at a young age, because there's this incredible book I read called Last Child in the Woods, where it has been scientifically proven how disengagement with nature through the early formative years going into adult life can cause severe mental health issues, obesity, mental health issues, lack of clarity, lack of center, and just a sense of restlessness and anxiety, which is why more people are being encouraged to go outdoors, spend more time in green, go rock climbing, do whatever you have to, but spend time with nature, and then of course meditate and do yoga and do all those wonderful things. But the point is that as creatures, we are not separate from nature. Our original home is in a natural environment, and what we've done is we've moved so far from it that at some level it is unsettling, and we may not consciously know it. But the moment you go into the open, you go into nature, you are swept with peace. So that should be a reminder that this is really what centers and calms us. So all those kids are spending all their time on technology, on smartphones. I worry for them.
There are 2 wild cats that have been named after you. What is that story?
Oh dear God. So basically the Lucknow Zoo got these 2 leopards from Muzaffarpur. So they named the mother Dia. So Dia Mirza from Muzaffarpur. So Rehnaa ji from Lucknow Zoo, she's actually still the head of Lucknow Zoo. She called me one day and she said, I know you love animals and wildlife. We have the Dia Mirza has given birth to 2 leopards, leopard cubs. Would you like to name them? So I was like, yes. And then she said, would you like to care for them? So I said, sure. I mean, I don't really agree with the concept of caging animals. I'm not happy with the idea that we have zoos. I think wildlife belongs in the wild. But she said, no, but these were born in protection and we can't really release them into the wild. So somebody has to take care of them. Will you? So I said, yes. So I named them Ashoka and Nakshatra. And they're not cubs anymore. They're big adult leopards and they're doing, touch wood, really well.
So now you've always been someone who is very different from most celebrities that I've met. Let me just put it that way. And you've always marched to your own beat. So what can we expect next from Dia Mirza?
I want to make a lot more content that explores and communicates environmental consciousness. I want to be able to tell stories of real life heroes that are connected to wildlife crime, because there's some really extraordinary stories there. And I want to be able to do some really invigorating and exciting docu-series, and hopefully lots more films.